If your Aikido feels shaky, weak, or disconnected, this is probably the reason. You're not moving from your center. And if your partner feels like you're pushing with your arms, if they tell you that you're pushing with your arms, you're definitely not moving from your center. Today we're going to fix that. So most students try to generate power from the arms, the shoulders, the hips, but it's all individualized. They try to generate power from the shoulders, not including the shoulders. The movement becomes segmented instead of unified. And your partner may understand those words, but they certainly, subconsciously at the very least, notice the movement being that way. So under pressure, the arms want to take over, right? It's like a vicious cycle. The more intimidated we are by this big, strong partner, or the more things don't seem like they're succeeding, the more we want to use just the arms. So then the partner feels the tension or the hesitation before the technique even begins. When the center isn't leading the movement, then everything feels like hard work. So, first of all, in today's video, I want to bust some myths, so to speak. There are some myths here that I want to address and clarify. Myth number one, using your core means tightening your stomach. True center movement is relaxed, quiet, and integrated. It's not braced. So you might actually be kind of tightening your stomach if you're moving your torso in a certain way, right? It requires some muscles to tighten a little bit just to move the body, or to twist the body, or to tilt the hips upward, whatever it is that you're doing. But it's not just standing there and tightening your stomachs. You know, like one of those posters, old martial arts posters where the guy's just standing there showing his abs, right? That's not it. Myth number two, well, move your hips. If your hips are moving, then you must be centered. That must be that you're moving your center. Not necessarily. The hips can move independently, especially if the knees are bent, by the way. So it's not a bad thing to move the hips, of course. It's a good thing. But if you're just moving different parts of your body independently, then you've left the center out. And just because you're moving this part of your body or that part of your body, like hips, for example, doesn't necessarily mean that you're using your center. So true center movement organizes the spine, the line of intent, your intention, and the whole body, not just the hip joint. Hey, sorry to interrupt the video, but some of you have been asking how you can get a copy of my book, The Teacher. The book includes topics such as from horse riding to Budo, the Japan experience, back home, building intuition, attracting new students to Aikido, nonviolence in Aikido, leading by example, women in Aikido, arrogance, no to homogenization in Aikido, Aikido and distance teaching, body alignment, more. If you haven't yet purchased it and you'd like to, just head to leah-suzuki.com/book, or you can find that link in the description here on YouTube. The book is available in English and Italian. If you want it in Italian, you've got to go to Amazon. There's plenty of really cool photos. There's me when I first started Aikido, even before I got to Boston, which is where my first teacher is. Also Takeda Shihan, Bill Gleason Sensei, my first teacher. And for those of you who might know him, Gary Small Sensei, taking ukemi long ago. Another of Takeda Shihan, Yamaguchi Sensei. All right. We've got a couple of me teaching seminars, of course. And then even one with me with explaining something with Shoto. This is in the No to Homogenization section. As I said, the link is in the description below. Just click on that, go to leah-suzuki.com/book, and order yours. Let's get back to the video now. Myth number 3. You have to consciously think about your center all the time. The reality is that too much thinking breaks the connection with your partner. So of course, when you first start Aikido, yes, you have to think about that constantly, but then you have to try to forget, try to let go of it. You have to try to build reflexes. So that's what Aikido training is all about, building healthy reflexes. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be? How do you want to move? So again, too much thinking actually breaks the connection. Center movement becomes natural through good training. So you have to consciously work at building these reflexes. The next thing I want to address, what moving from your center actually means. So movement begins in the Tanden, the center, the physical and energetic center, Tanden. The center initiates before the arms, legs, hips, whatever body part. For example, if you want to take your arms upward, you probably don't collapse the Tanden or tilt it downward for that matter. Taking your arms upward in a fully unified and conscious mannerism would be to lift the Tanden a half a moment before you lift the arms. Intention radiates outwards. So there's the center, Tanden, then the spine, whether it's lifting, curling, arching, whatever, and then the limbs. So first the center, then the spine, then the limbs. For example, when I think of a baseball player, the bat is over here, but if you're sitting and watching this, if you're in your chair, think about being a baseball player. Take the bat over here. You wouldn't leave your center pointing that way, I don't think. I think you would turn it a little bit, right? A little bit. Mine right now is going towards the baseball bat. Then the center moves first, doesn't it? Watch a baseball player. I'm not a baseball expert, but seems to me that the core, the center, the core, starts to move, and then the hands go with it, like a whip motion, a whip effect. So this is really, really a very, very different experience for your partner grabbing a hold of your wrist. It's a very different experience for them than it would be if you're just going like this. It's so interesting also how we can do all these things and integrate our center, and then as soon as somebody grabs our wrist, we panic and we give up on this stuff that actually helps us, like integrating the center. So anyway, the weight shift that the baseball player uses, and also integrating their center. Where's their center going in relation to their hands? If you've been watching my videos, you've probably noticed that I sometimes use Shoto, or short sword. I find that it helps students drop their shoulders, stop pushing, and really feel the technique. Right now, I have a limited number of these Suzuki signature Shoto available. They're made in Japan from premium Japanese white oak. They're engraved with my signature, and they're really beautifully balanced. Because of the lumber shortage in Japan, I was only able to get a small batch of them. So once these are gone, that's it for the time being. So if you'd like one, click the link below to reserve yours. During the checkout process, you'll be prompted to let me know which seminar you'll attend, and then I'll bring it right to you. Now let's get back to the video. Is the center tilted upward? Is the center tilted downwards? When you're doing Shihonage, for example, this upward hand, if your center is tilted downward or your hips tilted downward, this is a whole lot harder to do. You get kind of a magical effect if you tilt the center upward. So give it a try the next time you're on the mat. So let's look at a few techniques where we can imagine applying this. Let's think about Ikkyo. Has your teacher told you, like, don't have your hands out here when you're doing Ikkyo? If your center's pointed this way, then the hands should be here. If your center's pointed out here, then your hands are working independently. So unite it with your center. Shihonage, we turn from the center. We don't just take the arms over here or over here. Or if we do, and our partner is strong, we get a wake-up call right away, don't we? We do this for for Shihonage. Then if we tilt the tanden or the center downward when we want to go under our partner's arm for Shihonage, it's going to be so difficult or impossible. So if we get low and we point the tanden or center upward, tilt the hips upward, and then keep everything unified, again, not out here or out here, then we've got a much better chance at slipping under their arm for the rest of Shihonage, don't we? You probably, I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Kokyunage, when you do this, unifying your center and your limbs, there's a much better chance of this sort of floating feeling that you sometimes get. I hope you've experienced that sometimes in Kokyunage, depending on who was throwing you. So anyway, if a technique feels heavy, check and see which part of your body moved first. If it feels heavy in the negative way, that is. If you're getting stuck, in other words, then check. Okay, did I move my center first, or am I just like waving my arms around? Yeah? Then let's take a look at some other signs. How can you know if this is working, if you're doing it quote unquote right or not? That's a dangerous word in itself. But how can you know? So when your body feels light and when Uke's body feels light, good chance that you've got it. Especially if it's somebody who doesn't always feel light when you're throwing them. So maybe there's one partner that you have that's a bit of a challenge. They come in heavy. They really force you. The way their ukemi is forces you to really follow through, to really get deep. First of all, lucky you if you have this kind of partner. And then let's say one day they feel really light. Well, first of all, I don't know, maybe they're sick or something. They're too tired to be like really focused or heavy. But it could also be that maybe you're moving better. Maybe you're moving more from your center. So anyway, if they feel light, it could be a good sign. For you, for your body, if your body feels quiet also, if that makes sense. If your body feels quiet and if your mind settles, that's good stuff. Could be that you're moving from your center. If you find stability within the movement. So for example, if you're doing Shihonage, like Ryote Dori Shihonage, let's say, for example, and you invite, they come in, and you come down to this movement, right? In spite of that heavy connection from them, after the invitation and then this movement here, in spite of that heavy connection, do you feel stable? You still feel stable there, regardless of whether you can then go under their arm or not. Check before you even attempt that. Do I feel stable? If you do, pat yourself on the back. Congratulate yourself. So probably moved from center there. The biggest challenge with Shihonage, I think, is after that moment, though, going under the arm. People like to blast through. Here it is again. People like to blast through with their arms, lifting their arms so that they can move their foot. It should be the opposite. So you bring the partner down. They put their weight here into your wrists. And if you draw back your shoulders, you lead with the center and you let that foot come forward even with the upper body staying back, then there you go. You just advanced under their shoulder, right? And then you can turn if you've got to bend your knees a lot, turn, cut, you've got it. So anyway, the partner feels light, you feel stable at these different moments. These are all good signs. Also, an interesting thing, I find that if the movement feels to you internally like it's going at a comfortable pace, but Uke is struggling to keep up. So externally, it's like whoosh, they're feeling like it's a tornado or something. And you feel like, oh, this is a nice pace. This is a totally comfortable pace. That's a really good sign. Congratulate yourself on that as well. So how can we do this, right? And it would be tempting here for me to say like, keep training, right? Yeah, keep training. But there are a couple things that you can do right now that might help. Again, the best thing, keep training. Get partners who don't just fly around for you. They don't have to resist everything, not let you do anything. But a partner, if you can, find a partner with a heavy, steady connection. I still remember very clearly the first time that I was thrown by Yamaguchi Sensei when I was living in Japan. My partner and I were training, and then he came over and he threw her, and it was it it was a small space. It wasn't Hombu Dojo, but anyway, it was a small space. And so I was sitting Seiza watching her being thrown, and then he finished with her, he turned towards me, and he was very close. So, and we were doing Shomanuchi Ikkyo, but very, very close. So I didn't have the time, and it wasn't the right mai for Kirioroshi, right? It was more just coming up like this with my hand. So my arm came up like this. His forearm landed on my forearm, right? For this type of Ikkyo, right here from his center line. And that was the contact point. Just his forearm sitting on my forearm. I could see it right in front of my face. And I couldn't move my feet. I couldn't move my feet. I was a Yudansha at the time. And it was just the freakiest thing. I felt like a piano had been dropped on me. I felt so heavy. His forearm was on my forearm. And I didn't have a sensation of contact there. I just felt like a huge weight had been dropped on me. So anyway, so freaky. And how do you fight against something when you can't really feel the contact point? Thanks so much for joining me today. If this helped you, give it a like, a subscribe, and let me know in the comments what in your Aikido is the hardest situation to stay centered. So is it this technique or that technique? Or is it whenever I try to move forward? Or is it like this guy named Bob drives me crazy, I can never throw him? So let me know when it is. What kind of situation or what technique is the hardest for you to stay centered in? Again, thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye.